which is very interesting. Okay, cool. So we'll get started. We're recording. So everyone has the fourth mode stuff, and I believe we finished. Let's see. I believe we finished everything in the. Did we finish the dogmatic theologian? I think.
We have verse 4.
Hmm?
We stopped at verse 4.
Yeah, I think we did.
Oh yeah, we were we got
to
to
in the Apostica,
except for 4, right?
Okay, so we were up to that. Okay. Oh yeah, so we're gonna do these at pilot. Yeah, so we finished verse number 3, and so up to number 4. All right. So this is page 203. Let me just bring it up on my screen here. All right. Okay, so we have holiness becometh thy house, O Lord. So I don't think there's anything of note here. The only thing before we start is on the middle of the or in the bottom of the page. Weep not.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone want to say what happens there?
It turns into the hard chromatic. Right?
Yeah, it turns into the hard chromatic scale. That note, whatever it happens to be, we'll figure out what it is. That becomes what note in the hard chromatic scale?
The.
Yeah, the in the hard chromatic scale, and then at the end, weep not, he said. It just switches back to the diatonic scale there, again at the. So I assume, we'll see, but that's probably the in the diatonic scale, switches to hard chromatic at the, and then switches back to diatonic the. And then, does everyone sees that, I assume? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's about it. So we'll see if you guys get that when we get there. Otherwise, we can go over what it sounds like. So, and anyone, just out of curiosity, without looking at the sheet of paper, what are the intervals of the hard chromatic scale?
The intervals? You mean?
Yeah, so we have the diatonic is...
the actual numbers as opposed to...
Yeah.
We're not pretending it's like a half a...
4,
Yeah.
4, 8, 10, 12.
Yeah, so
What is it, like 4,
so
20?
Close.
4?
624.
Is it 624?
Yeah, 624. And diatonic is 12, 10, 8. So, yeah, that's just mathematical stuff. So, just out of curiosity. So, Legatos, verse number 4. Holiness becometh thy house, O Lord, unto length of days. Okay, now ni pavu. Vu. Gagavu pani pavu gavi gavi kevi gavu vigavi ke gavi kevi gavu vigavu vinizo kevi kezo vi kezo kevi kevi vi ke gavi gavi kevi gavu vi gavu gagavu di pa vugavi kevi gavu di vugavi vu. We'll pause there for a moment, just to give you a second to, since it keeps going for a good while longer. How wast thou stolen? That's familiar, right? How wast thou stolen?
Yeah.
And then we have what place holdeth thy life-bearing body? Life-bearing body. We've seen that again and again and again. So those two things, in addition to other things, just of note to point out, those formulaic patterns. So let's start. And an angel answered them. Everyone see where I am?
Yeah.
Okay, so we start on vous. So, vigavu. the kezo, the zorke, the gavuga, the. Very nice. The keni zorke, the ke, the ga, the vu, gavu. The ga, the gavu, the gavu.
So you blow through that ke?
No.
No, is that
That joy?
no? Like creating.
At eating,
Where's creating?
on the top of the 201.
204 or
204. Wait a minute. Oh, you know what? I went to 201 instead of.
Oh, you know I did too.
No wonder.
If I've been looking at the words of it, like I realized I'd gone wrong. It's like, oh, I just go into the guy.
Maybe I didn't understand that. That wasn't a hole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
201, there's a hole over at.
Because at first I saw Jeff looking around and I was kind of like, okay, he found it. Okay, good. And
I
then
found something.
yeah, okay, so 203 followed by 204. That's when we were chanting on Sunday. We were chanting on Sunday this weekend, and my friend, we were chanting up in Linthicum, and when we were chanting through our Matins book, he takes whatever we were doing, and then he flips back a bunch of pages and chants something else. And I was like, what are you doing? This makes no sense. He was just like choosing whatever he wanted to choose, at least I thought. And then he said, well, that's what the patriarchal church does, and this and this. Meanwhile, I was so confused because he just flips back a bunch of pages and chants something from a different section of the service entirely. So people do that from time to time, but so
You mean Sunday you weren't recovering from a bender from Saturday?
Oh no, of course not. No, we went out for crab cakes and crashed early. So
I entertained myself with this, this story that the two of you maybe taking Father Gregory with you, trolling to the inner harbor.
Yeah, well, the one of the chanters after Vespers that night. He was like a very monastic guy. He was like, "Don't go out too late." And it was kind of like it was kind of like I don't think we will, but no, we didn't stay out too. We didn't chant hard and then party hard. We chant hard, ate hard, and slept hard. Yeah. So verse number 4, Apostica number 4. We'll sing it with the words again, or we'll sing it with the words this time. We'll just start with Apostica number 4, doing it a little faster, and then depending upon how we do, we'll go back and do everything even faster. Apostica number 4, drawing nigh unto the tomb. Legetos. Drawing nigh unto the tomb. 1 second. Drawing nigh unto. So the nigh unto the tomb. Because we pass by pa very quickly. So pa gets sharp, right?
Where, what? Really?
Drawing nigh unto the tomb. Gagavu pani pavu, as opposed to gagavu pani pavu.
Oh, okay.
Just remember that there's a traction between the intervals. If we're hitting pa very quickly and going right past it, it gets pulled up to vu. So there's no sharp or flat there because it's all oral tradition that we're going by. So it'd be drawing nigh unto the tomb, the women sought thee with tears. So, legatos, drawing nigh unto the tomb, the women sought thee with tears, but on not finding thee, they were overcome with grief. And crying out with lamentation, they said, Woe unto us, O our Saviour, O King of all! How wast thou stolen? What place holdeth thy life-bearing body? And an angel answered them, Weep not, he said, but go forth and proclaim that the Lord is risen. granting us joy, since he alone is merciful. Cool. So we have a little bit of word painting there on weep not, he said, and the fact that he's saying weep not, and the angel is the one that's speaking, so it gets all mystical with hard chromatic, and it's kind of funny, at least with this hymn, that the women are so distraught that they're kind of like, it's like, woe unto us, Christ, how were you stolen? How did you let this happen to yourself? So it's how humanity happens anyway. So it's an interesting personification. So holiness becometh thy house, O Lord, just a little bit quicker, just to push your limits. Legetos. Holiness becometh thy house, O Lord, unto length of days. Drawing nigh unto the tomb, the women sought thee with tears, but on not finding thee, they were overcome with grief, and crying out with lamentation, they said, woe unto us, O our Saviour, O King of all! How wast thou stolen? What place holdeth thy life-bearing body? And an angel answered them, weep not, he said, but go forth and proclaim that the Lord is risen, granting us joy, since he alone is merciful. Okay, that was probably faster. Hopefully that wasn't too fast for people, but trying to push it a little, so eventually I'll be pushing the speed, not necessarily because that's how you should do it in church, but just because if you're only doing it as fast as you'll ever do, then it's kind of like, if you do it faster than you're supposed to, then doing it at the regular speed is easy. So kind of pushing it past the speed of being comfortable. So
that's why racers do wind sprints.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't practice for 10K by doing 5Ks.
Yeah. So let's do Glory Both Now. We'll just sing them as it is. Now the question is on the Theotokian, do we want to read it with the Nipavu or try it just with the words straight off the bat? Either way is fine with me.
All right.
It's always good to do Nipavu, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I agree. I'm just curious. If people
we
are,
think we know it.
Yeah.
It's good practice.
So we'll do it on Nipavu. But Glory Both Now, we will sing with the words, since they should be fairly straightforward. Just on Glory to the, we have the sharp on pa. So, and then the same thing in the Both Now, we have it on unto. So, Legatos. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. Let's do the Both Now one more time. So, and just to let you know, both now and ever, and unto. So, yep, yeah, exactly. So, the end kind of comes out of nowhere. Because we just jump. So, both now. Both now and ever, and let's do it one more time. Both now and ever, and yeah. So one last time. Yeah, it's like an airplane going. At least it's not a train wreck. It's just an airplane going down. It hasn't crashed yet. Yeah, we have time. So both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. to sing it more in a few minutes, but we'll get back to that. Hopefully, in the meantime, your brain will process it and figure out everything. And like with a good math problem, it somehow does that.
That's to sleep on it sometimes.
Yeah. So tomorrow, it'll be awesome.
Exactly. I know, I understand.
It makes so much sense. So incline to the entreaty on Ni pas vous. Vous diga vi que zo que vi que diga vous ga diga vous vous ga que zo ni zo que diga diga vous gadi vous gavu di gavu pa vous pani pa vous gadi gadi Kenny zo kedi di gavu di vu gadi vu di gadi kezo kedi di gavu gadi kedi gavu. What note is it now? 4. Zo ke vi ke zo di ke ga vu di ga vu vu ga di ke zo ke di ga vu pa vu ga vu. Okay, did the ending make sense?
Yeah.
No, of course not.
So we've gone through, I'm not sure. Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you keep going over it, and I still am not getting it.
So I think it's pretty much, it's pretty much the same as what we've done before, kind of.
I probably have notes on it and everything.
So it's just a matter of where we approach it. Like the final bunch of symbols are the same. So like if we go to the dogmatic Theotokian, page 199, pretty much the same thing. We can go through it again.
I have the notes.
Okay. So let me sing it.
You can't be doing that in your head when you come to that. You just
Mhm.
gotta like do that beforehand and just say, okay,
Yeah.
that's what this is.
So I'll sing it once. I'll do it with Ni pas vous, and just look at it and see if you can understand what I'm doing and if it makes sense, so that you're processing what I'm doing and not what you're trying to do. Because it makes sometimes they're adding that extra activity, just makes it confusing. So from the end of the Brief Apostica and Salvation, shelter the second to last line, right end of it, and I'll just sing it. Viga vu ga viga vu pa vu ga vu.
Oh, there's a fluctuation of the voice too.
Yep. And so really what it would be, and salvation of our souls. This little bounces around in there. Does that make any sense? Does that help?
Yeah, the notes.
And it says 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, off. So, anyone want it written out or?
No,
Okay.
I got the notes. Just-
Cool. So let's go with the words. Incline to the entreaty of thy suppliants. And then we'll do it a little faster, and then go back to the glory both now and do it faster still. So, legatos. Everyone see it? Incline to the entreaty of thy suppliants, O blameless one. Make to cease the uprising of afflictions that come upon us, and deliver us from all manner of grief. For thee alone do we have as a secure and sure anchor, and we have thy protection. Let us not be put to shame, O Lady, as we call upon thee. Hasten at the entreaty of those who faithfully cry to thee. Rejoice, O Lady, thou help of all, thou joy and shelter, and salvation of our souls. Cool. All right. Any questions there, or just go back to the glory? Yeah, that's a little slow. I mean, I think that seems a little slow. I'd have to listen. Like, if you guys were singing it and I was over there, then it would sound different. To me, it feels slow right now. It might feel good from a congregation standpoint, but I think a little faster is better. So, at least for us, I think faster gives you more of the phrase, because doing it that slow kind of is like,
Yeah. Try to get a sense of what you're singing.
Right. So doing it faster just gets you more to join everything together. So, glory both now. Legatos. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, both now and ever, and unto the ages of ages. Amen. Incline to the entreaty of thy suppliants, O blameless one. Make to cease the uprising of afflictions that come upon us, and deliver us from all manner of grief. For thee alone do we have as a secure and sure anchor, and we have thy protection. Let us not be put to shame, O Lady, as we call upon thee. Hasten at the entreaty of those who faithfully cry to thee. Rejoice, O Lady, thou help of all, thou joy and shelter, and salvation of our souls. All right. And the only thing to add to that, I have one question, and that's more a question for myself. And then at the end, sometimes you'll hear people they'll do and salvation of our souls. They'll kind of pulse that. That's just what they do. And then if you notice at the beginning, second line of the Theotokian, make to cease the uprisings. I have to look into what you do there with the zo, because I've seen this in various locations where make to cease the make to cease the uprising. I'm not sure if zo flat or zo natural followed by zo flat, because it's just very quickly uprising. Does anyone see what I'm doing there? The zoni zo keli, or keeping zo flat. Zoni zo keli. I think it goes by so quickly that we can just wave our hands and do whatever we want. But I'll have to look into that and see different recordings, or ask 2 different people and see what's the appropriate thing to do there. I've seen it. One of the doxologies that St. Anthony's does that too, and it's kind of a confusing. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to do that there. But musically, I believe it's correct. So for the moment, I just kept zo flat, which sounds fine to me. But I will hopefully get an answer to that. So meanwhile, we will switch to tone 3. And here's a bunch of music. And there's a little bit of new stuff to learn about tone 3. The main thing that we'll talk about is that tone 3 straddles the hemispheres of diatonic and enharmonic, at least in my opinion. And so we'll talk about the enharmonic scale briefly, and then tone 7, the grave mode, it kind of stays in the enharmonic scale much more all the time. And
Do you need that?
no, I'll just read off on my screen.
I mean, I got one here too.
So what we'll do? So tone 3. I'll just make a box for myself. Tone 3 is what is inside. So we have the diatonic genus, the diatonic family, and this is kind of, they often put it in the enharmonic family because it uses a lot of enharmonic phrases and a lot of enharmonic intervals. So what I will say is that it's kind of, if you add enharmonic plus diatonic, sometimes it's one and sometimes it's the other. As far as I know, and if I'm wrong, I'll let you know, that it starts in the diatonic scale, and there's enharmonic symbols that change it to the enharmonic scale, and then it stays enharmonic until you hear otherwise, or until you see another symbol to tell you to switch to something different. Enharmonic is just, it comprises the intervals 12, 12, 6. So this is good for Western musicians because whole step, half step. That's your regular ni pa vu. That's your regular Western scale. There's no difference there. The only difference runs into, there's 2 different ways of writing the enharmonic, this interval set. One is to do 12, 12, 6, 12, 12, 12, 6. So you have your banks of 12, 12, 6 separated by your disjunctive note of 12. Or you can just do what we'll do for this one is just 12, 12, 6, 12, 12, 6, 12, 12, 6. You just keep repeating it. 6. So this one is ni pa vu ga vi ke zoni. This is just your whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Your regular major scale going from ni to ni. This one is ni pa vu ga. Then you start again from essentially ni, but ga vi ke zo vi zo pa vu. So your zo, or your vu here is not your vu down here.
Right.
Because this vu is a half step.
Half step higher than.
Or this vu is a half step lower than this one would be. So ni pa vu ga di ke zo ni pavu. Where we started ni.
It's hard to tell, isn't it?
Yeah. This one's vu flat, nevertheless. So it changes the way that we work because we're not working in terms of 8 notes. We're working here in terms of either 4 notes called a tetrachord, or this is kind of 7 notes. But this 12-12-6 just repeats. So this is used when we start from when things are centered around ga. And I believe this one is when things start around zo, or the low zo. So because our tone 3 starts at ga, which I'll show in a minute, this is the scale that we use if we go into the enharmonic one. So if it's ni ga ga di ke di ga, which is ga di ke zo ke di ga, and then the regular ga vu pa ni pa vu ga.
So I'm sorry, these are both considered diatonic? I don't understand the distinction drawn.
This is enharmonic.
Enharmonic.
Yeah. This is the enharmonic scale. Enharmonic. And then the symbol here that is our key to switch to the enharmonic scale is this guy. Our little circle with a little J attached to it. Yeah, like a balloon floating away. And so you'll normally see this on zo. You can also see it on ga. You can see it on a few different notes, but primarily in tone 3, you'll see it on zo. And then there's 2 other symbols which we'll do. So this one's one symbol to know, and then it keeps working until we see something to cancel it. And that changes the intervals. Instead of 12-10-8, 12-12-10-8, we just go to the regular major scale. And the other thing to look at, does this make sense to anyone?
Sure, but you're saying those are both enharmonic scales?
These are both enharmonic
All right,
scales.
but it's a different kind.
Yeah, and if you look, I don't know if anyone has that scale chart. If you look, I'll bring it up on my screen too.
Oh, they're both there. You're right.
Yeah. So so you see that there's a scale of the grave enharmonic mode from zo, and there's the scale of the grave enharmonic from ga. And so ga is the one where it's just a repeating 12-12-6 over and over and over again ad nauseum. And then if it's from zo, then you do have that intervening 12. And that's primarily because it's based on an octave going from zo to zo, whereas if we're basing it on ga, it's in the middle of the scale. It doesn't really work that way. And the reason why it says in here grave enharmonic mode is because it's used for the grave mode and enharmonic, and tone 3 I'll say borrows a lot from it. I wouldn't, at least for the moment, I won't say that grave mode is only enharmonic. It's diatonic plus enharmonic. So we're looking at just those 2 scales, and everyone sees where we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then if you look, if you look at the bottom in the modulant section, the one that says enharmonic family, that's where you see that zo, or that symbol, which I don't know what that symbol is called, but it can be on zo, ga, or vu. And if it's on zo, it means that we have a zo flat, which is essentially what that enharmonic scale does. And then if it's on ga, we end up having a vu sharp, which is what the enharmonic scale does. And if we have it on vu, it puts a vu flat, which is just a weird placement. You'll see it sometimes, but it's not. You don't see it there very often, at least not in the music that I've read so far. So, and the other thing, and we'll use that scale chart again in a second. The other thing of note is the only time that you see 2 other symbols in general, you might see them elsewhere, but in general it's in tone 3. You have what are called, so we saw flats and sharps before, now we have what's called a general flat and a general sharp. And they're general because the other flats that we've seen, it was a one-time use only. You see it on one note, and that's the only note it applies to. It applies to nothing else. The general flat or sharp applies to that note and all other notes of at the same level. So if it's on zo, zo always acts like that until you see it corrected. And so the general flat and the sharp. And so what those look like, and it's just on the scale chart. You have this guy, and then you have its upside down counterpart. Okay, And so this one resides on K. And that means that zo is going to be flat. Or upper zo. And then the other one is on ga. And that one means that vu is going to be sharp. Okay? And so those, if you see this in a piece of music, and we'll see it a good bit, it just means that you're going to keep going until it gets fixed. And I haven't yet gotten a good description of what it means to cancel it. No, like people, at least I've heard people say, and it just keeps going until it gets canceled. And then I've opened up another book and it says it keeps going until it gets canceled. And that's kind of ambiguous. And so what I've figured out from music so far is that it can get canceled by another one of those modulant symbols. Like if it says switch to diatonic or if it says switch to hard chromatic,
So
it cancels it. Yeah, it resets everything. And the other thing is that if you see, let's say we have K here, and then we end a phrase and we see one of the martiria, the witnesses in the middle of the music. Like let's say we see K with this guy like this. I believe this cancels it. At least from listening to recordings of people reading music, it seems that once you hit one of these little symbols, stopper symbols, it cancels it, and then until it gets placed again, everything is reset. So, we'll see that in music. And
So I'm sorry, are you saying you only see those symbols just on K and Vu?
you see it on K and Vu, yeah, or K and Ga.
Okay. Oh, on K and Ga.
Yeah. So,
So it's general, but only on those two notes.
It's general.
General in the sense that it reflects every
yeah.
Vu and every
Yeah.
Zo and every K and Ga after it.
Right, exactly. But
you won't see it on the.
No.
Okay.
No.
Can I ask you a question? So
Sure.
here, the last line, you have the harmonic family,
Mhm.
that zo equals zo, or is it
Zoe.
J equals zo flat?
No,
zo flat.
if-
Because Gamma is with Vu.
So what that means is it's not that whenever you see that symbol on zo, that means zo flat. Whenever you see that symbol on ga, that means vu sharp. Whenever you see that symbol on vu, it means vu flat.
And when you see it on K, when
So this one is a different symbol, but this one is on the top right hand side, and the general alteration section. And so K, if you see this on K, that means that zo is going to be flat. And if you see that other one on ga, then it means that vu is going to be sharp. Okay. Does that make sense?
sort of.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything that I can say to clarify? So what those equal signs, at least they don't mean that zo equals this zo. It means that if you see that actually means this other symbol combination. So, any other questions before I talk about what half tone 3 works briefly? All right. So those are the few new things, just the enharmonic scale and the general flat and sharp. And tone 3 is the primary players in the scale. Its basis notes are ga. Ga is where it starts, and then from ga it goes to K, and that's whenever you have some sort of verse, it'll go. Bring my soul out of prison, it always goes up to K. And this is what separates it from grave mode because grave mode doesn't go to K. Grave mode goes to the. So tone 3 goes to K. And then normally from K, it can kind of oscillate between K and Ni, let's say. You can go up to Ni, to high Ni. And then, but it can play around in that area, but the overarching structure is Ga to K. K goes down to Pa. And then from there, it could go to Ni. Sometimes it goes to Ni. It's kind of up to the discretion of the person writing it, low Ni. And then goes back up to Ga by the end of the music. So this is your beginning. This is kind of an intermediary note where you haven't finished a phrase. I guess this is also an intermediary note. And then this is your final cadence. It always ends on ga, and your final, like if you're in the middle of a paragraph but you've reached a period, it will also end on ga. I don't think I'll have to look and see if like on a period in the middle of a paragraph if it would end on ke or pa. They kind of seem tentative, so I wouldn't end there. But normally ga to ke to pa, maybe to ni, but otherwise it goes back up to the ga. And every so often, what you do find is instead of ga vi ke vi ga vu pa, and then da 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 da, it might go back up to ke. And every so often, instead of doing this whole structure in order, it might go ke vi ga vu pa, ke vi ga vu pa. Might hit this again. There's leeway in there to play around with how often it hits pa and how these play out. But these are the general notes to consider. And because of that, your Isan notes are going to be ga, it's going to be pa, and ni. And then the only difference there is every so often, and this is mostly in long music, the Isan will go up to ke, and that's when we switch scales, and instead of going in tone 3, we almost switch into tone 5, which we haven't gone through yet. But then sometimes it ends up residing around ke and going into plega, the first mode, which changes the scale a good bit, but in the brief version, which we're going to do, I don't believe it does that very often. It's more for the longer hymns to word paint. So, any questions on that? I hope I didn't confuse anyone with that last remark. So, but pretty much, and you'll see this over and over again, and I think it'll become fairly obvious that it's ga vi ke vi ga vu pa ni pa va ga. It just goes back and forth between ga ke pa ni ga. So, any questions there? Okay. And as I was talking, I realized that we never did Plagal first, and so we'll go back to Plagal first, because that's actually easier than a lot of them that we've been doing anyway. So when we get there, I think you guys will be like, "Man, I'm awesome." So okay, so let's go to Lord I've Cried, the brief third mode brief. So what you see at the beginning is you see a whole bunch of symbols. Hijos again right under Lord I've Cried, and then you see a whole bunch of symbols in the middle, and then you see ga with a symbol right on top of it, and that symbol is your symbol in the diatonic scale for ga. So that tells you that ga is going to be a diatonic ga, which is why I say that it's diatonic, but it switches over to enharmonic a good bit. And then the only thing that I'll say before we actually begin to read the music is that there's going to be a bunch of sharps on vu, and sometimes there will be flats on zo, and sometimes they're helper symbols, and sometimes they're there just to let you know that it's Lord, I have cried unto thee. It's not going to be Lord, I. It's not going to be that flat vu because they want that vu to be high. So we'll see them, but you'll see them sprinkled throughout the music. So let us read. Na, and the intonation for this is na na ni ga. Vi ga vu ga vi ke vi ga vu pa vu pa ni. Let's do that one more time. So we'll start with the end of the first line. We end on pa. The last two symbols there on hearken. Vi ga vu pa ni. What's our next note? Zo, yes. Very good. Zo ke vi ke zo vi ke ga vi ke zo What's our next note?
Knee.
Nope.
Oh, no, that's only
Pa. What is it? Up 4? So what does that bring us to? Yep. So we're on pa. Kezon pani. Wait a second. So we're good at that one. Yep.
Right.
So the reason I printed it like this is because if you add the slow part to it, then all the pages work out beautifully. So.
Unless you can find it on that.
Yeah, exactly. Start singing the Apolitikin.
Yep, sorry.
Okay, so pa kezo pani zo kevi ga di kevi ga vu ga. Okay. Any question there? There's a lot of those sineches elafron, those adjoining elafrons there, that little combo symbol. If anyone remembers what that looks like. So, okay. So, any questions before we go on to Let My Prayer, and then we'll go back and sing them both with words? Okay. Let My Prayer. Na na, that's our God. Vi ke ga vi ke ga vi ga vu pa vi zo ke vi ga vu ga vi ke vi ke zo ni zo ke ga vi ke vi ga vu ga. Okay, so as you notice, all the martirias in the midst of the music, they're going to be based on ga, pa, or ke. And that's one thing. Throughout the tones, you can kind of tell what your arching structure is throughout the music is going to be what the martirias say. So if in tone 4 we had a lot of pas, a lot of vus, and a lot of these, so that kind of tells you where your melody is going to go. Here we see a lot of pas, a lot of knees, a lot of kes, a lot of gas. That kind of tells you, again, what your melody is going to do. So, just added things to pay attention to. Let's sing Lord I Have Pride with the words. Na na, Lord, I have cried unto thee. Hearken unto me, hearken unto me, O Lord. Lord, I have cried unto thee, hearken unto me. Attend to the voice of my supplication, when I cry unto thee, hearken unto me, O Lord. Then to Let My Prayer. Let my prayer be set forth as incense before thee, the lifting up of my hands as an evening sacrifice. Hearken unto me, O Lord.
do an evening? You didn't sing what I sang. I didn't sing what you sang.
Oh, so this is one thing I'm trying to figure. An evening sacrifice.
Sharp on that?
Yeah, I went sharp. Evening sacrifice, and that's
flatten back down.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's part of being in the diatonic scale here. If it had either one of these general alterations or the enharmonic symbol, I wouldn't do that. But we haven't seen it anywhere in here. And I was listening. I was trying to figure this out, and I haven't gotten a straight answer from people yet. But from listening both to one of the guys in Pittsburgh and one of the guys from Greece that I was listening to before I came here, it seems like they're Zo. If there's no other symbol, they're Kevi Kezo Nizo Ke. There's that slight sharpness to it, and so that's. I've kind of like throughout the music, I'm like they did it again, I'm waiting for it to be a mistake, but then they keep doing it. So I don't think it's a mistake because they seem to make that mistake all the time. So assuming they're not messing up constantly, and they have more degrees than I do in Byzantine music, I will trust.
Argue with that,
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have to sit down and literally ask someone and be like, "Am I doing this right, or is this what you're doing? Am I interpreting what you're doing right?" But that's. Normally, when you're passing Zo, it kind of retains all those diatonic rules of passing Zo natural. When you come back, it's flat. And the only other thing at the end, hearken unto me, O Lord. Sometimes you have that, O Lord, or O Lord, da, da, da. Just a little bounce there. Okay, any questions other than that? Let's sing it a little bit faster, and then we'll keep going. Na na. Do people see the overarching structure? Overarching. I don't know what's the best word there. Overarching. Arching.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very
Okay.
different.
Hmm?
It's very different.
Yeah. And this one, if you look at there's little poems that are written to each tone, and they say, O tone 1, how beautiful you are, you get the first place. O tone 3, and it says like how manly you are. And like I think it says militaristic in there too. And tone 3, somehow, I always thought it was a happy tone. And once somebody said militaristic and manly, it's kind of like dun 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 da dun dun da da da. Dun da 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 dun da da da. And I can see
the ancient Greek, the Doric, the Phrygian, and all that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like the Doric or something like that. You know?
Could be.
yeah.
Because supposedly the Byzantine scales were built on those ancient Greek.
Oh yeah. They were
But I don't
definitely
know
based on those.
how they differ from each other.
I
One
mean,
is supposed to be very militaristic.
yeah. I'm not sure about going that far.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Well,
for
Have
whatever.
you come
Militaristic
with
in
the
the sense.
little drummer?
Oh, the little drummer boy.
I'm a little drummer boy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's that.
Boy, let's see. If you think about, let's say the three wise men. We always think of like, the three wise men, they come and everything's beautiful and they meet Christ, in the midst of the manger. They didn't meet him at the manger; they met him somewhere else. But then if you think they're trekking for like how long, and they're trusting on this star, and it's this huge trek, they have to be very tough, and then they go and then they have to kind of be devious against Herod and all sorts of things. So there's a lot of plotting here. There's a lot of I don't know, maybe it's militaristic, and Herod's trying to kill Christ, and
Killing of the innocents.
Yeah.
I see that as being very militaristic.
yeah, so it's not as happy as the media portrays it. What is it? From the moment Christ was born, he was trying to be killed. So it kind of started pretty early on. So there was no rest no place for Christ to lay his head.
Curse once again.
Yep.
The East is messing with my Western mindset.
Or is the Western mindset more like?
It's like la 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 la, all is calm, all is bright.
Oh, no.
Yes, oh, yes.
Yeah, I love there was one lecture I forget who it was by, but it was probably Father Thomas Hopko, because he likes to put things in a very stark fashion, like kind of like dashing all your thoughts against the ground, and all your babes against the stones. And so what he does is he's kind of like, yeah, everyone thinks it's a silent night, holy night, whatever. He was like, there was nothing silent and there was nothing holy about this night. He was like, you have a virgin. They couldn't find any place. They have a virgin giving birth in a manger. There's animals. It stinks. They took the animal's feed place away, put a baby in there, had to wash it in all sorts of terribleness, and so he was kind of like, there was nothing silent, there was nothing holy, except that the Savior of the world was born. But besides that, so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, this Christmas is ruined for me. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You can still have it.
Okay.
But it's like I think the Passion of the Christ ruined Pascha for my brother because he saw it and he was like, all I could think of was like the bloodiness and all sorts of things.
The side being ripped out.
Yeah. So I still have not seen it. So my Pascha has not been
I don't know
ruined.
whether it's worth seeing. I don't know. Did you see it?
Oh yeah.
No, I'm concerned about seeing it.
Oh, have you not seen it?
No,
Yeah.
I can see the suffering, but I don't want to.
I've been pushing myself away from it because I don't want to go on Holy Thursday and be like, oh, this is just like in the movie, because I think they take it pretty literally, just straight from the Bible, from the biblical account.
And there's some additional stuff from a saint who claimed to have visions and stuff
okay.
like that, but it's just adding on to it. It's not anything that's extraneous.
Yeah.
Except he speaks Aramaic, and it's the real Aramaic because people from that part of the world
They could understand
the movie.
Oh, wow.
Children, there were children in Athens in an orphanage
Yeah.
that were from Iraq, refugees, and they watched the movie.
Wow.
They understood everything.
Wow. Huh.
So he must have been speaking. I mean, that's
And pretty well. Yeah.
whoever did it must have been,
Yeah.
or they dubbed it or something.
Yeah. Or had
They had to learn the language
They did.
for that.
Wes,
yeah.
Mel
Well,
Gibson.
then
It was
how
Mel
could he
Gibson,
learn it
right?
so well
Yeah,
that
Mel
children-
Yeah, because he was
And Jim
a
Caviezel.
stickler about that. I
Yeah,
thought.
Jim Caviezel
What's
and
the name of the movie?
The Passion
The
of the
Passion.
Christ.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson.
No,
We're not
Before
recommending
you
it
get crazy.
necessarily.
Well, maybe he would praise
Yeah.
because of it.
I would recommend it, but if you have a low tolerance for pain,
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are many movies like that shown in Greek television
Really?
throughout the Lent period.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I don't think they would show that one.
Yeah.
Probably because Kazantzakis said The Last Passion of Christ,
Mm.
which is almost banned by the church.
Oh, really? Huh. Back to turn 3
Okay.
for a brief little while. Na na, Lord, I've cried. Lord, I have cried unto thee. Hearken unto me. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Lord, I have cried unto thee. Hearken unto me. Attend to the voice of my supplication. When I cry unto thee, hearken unto me, O Lord. Let my prayer be set forth as incense before thee. The lifting up of my hands as an evening sacrifice. Hearken unto me, O Lord. Cool. How did that feel for people? Pretty good. The only thing I think to add to that is little by little, the VU, this tone almost acts similar to tone 1 in that the VU, when you're going down towards it, it kind of gets pulled down even further. So da 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 da, just a little bit of a tug on VU to go a little flat. So just to let you know. Let's go. We'll go through verse number 1 as the cure number 1, and then we'll be done. So, and what you'll notice, the verse does a very interesting thing. What we've noticed on the previous ones, all the verses, they start on your starting note, and they end on the starting note, which is your ending note. This one does not do that. Bring my soul out of prison, that I may confess thy name. It ends on pa. And so everything is based off of pa, such that if you look at music that doesn't have the verse in it, it'll either say pa before it, or it'll have ga written with a little elafron underneath it, which tells you to go down to, which tells you that it's based on ga, but you're going to start 2 notes beneath it. So this one happens to help you out because you have a verse to begin, and then it says start from pa after that. But that's one thing. Tone 3, it kind of starts the whole transformation already. You already are in the gadi keke kedi gavu pa, and then you start the hymn. So bring my soul out of prison. Bring my soul out of prison, that I may confess thy name. Thee, gavuga, thee, Vike zozo ke vinini zo ke vike zoni zo ke vike ga vi gavupa vike zo ke Vigavuga vike viga vi vigavuga. Sorry, I did that kind of quickly. And I said the instead of zo. I think you looked over and you're like, wait, what? And on of death, I said vini instead of zoni. So let's do it one more time with the syllables at that speed, just to see if it gets a little better. So we start on thee by the cross with thee. Thee, gavuga, thee, zo, ni, zo, vike, zo, ni, zo, ga vi gavupa. 1 second, we'll go back to end the deception of the devil. That's what it is. End the deception of the devil. Vike zoni zo ga vi gavupa. Vike zo ke vigavuga vike viga vi vigavuga. Cool. And if you ever listen to certain people singing this at the end, sometimes you hear them go ga vu ga. It almost sounds like they don't even change pitch on vu right at the end with that sharp. And there is a slight change, but they were just making it very minuscule because of that sharp. But the first time I listened to it, I was like, wait, they went ga vu ga. They just sang the same note, but nope, they changed. So let's sing with the words. By the cross of Christ our Savior. Na na. By thy cross, O Christ our Savior, the dominion of death hath been destroyed, and the deception of the devil hath been abolished, and the race of man, having been saved by faith, doth ever offer praise to thee. Cool. Let's do it one more time. Now with the words, bring my soul out of prison. Bring my soul out of prison, that I may confess thy name. By thy cross, O Christ our Savior, the dominion of death has been destroyed, and the deception of the devil hath been abolished, and the race of man, having been saved by faith, doth ever offer praise to thee. Cool. The only thing I'll say, can you guys do it and I do the Isan, just to hear how that goes?
Okay.
So
From the top or just the C?
yeah, bring my soul. Bring my soul out of prison, that I may confess thy name. By thy cross, O Christ, our Savior, the dominion of death has been destroyed, and the deception of the devil has been abolished, and the race of man, having been saved by faith, doth ever offer praise to thee. Cool. All right.
Very
And on
nice
that
hearing your song.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind
kind
of
of-
cool when
it-
you get the two parts.
It rounds it out, and then
Beautiful.
it's interesting because you can tell where the melody's gonna go because
Yeah,
the song
yeah.
goes there first.
Sure.
So
That's-
so it kind of gives you the whole feeling. So and it kind of Isan rounds it out. It kind of gives you
Yes, a fuller.
a fuller sound. And sometimes I've sung without Isan, and it's fine, but something's missing, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not that it has to be there, but when it is there, it's very nice. So that's it for me. Unless there's any questions.
You?
Great.
Tone 3.